Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents When Depression Hurts Your Relationship, How to Regain Intimacy and Reconnect with Your Partner When You're Depressed. By Shannon Kolakowski, PsyD. Forward by Craig Malkin, Ph.D. Narrated by Vanessa Daniels. Publisher's Note: This publication is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is sold with the understanding that the publisher is not engaged in rendering psychological, financial, legal, or other professional services. If expert assistance or counseling is needed, the services of a competent professional should be sought. Forward. I've devoted my life to understanding relationships. In a sense, I suppose we all have, simply by virtue of living in them each and every day. But for me, it's always been a bit of an obsession. My first published research, for example, was all about relationships, several hundred in fact. Not just how they form, but how the best ones transform us, by sparking dramatic growth in self-esteem and confidence. Over time, as I grew as a clinician, I kept writing and teaching and speaking about relationships whenever and wherever I could, in my workshops and articles, through media interviews, as an instructor at Harvard. And through it all, I developed one consistent message. We can overcome just about anything once we've understood our roles in creating or blocking intimacy with others. Learn how your relationships work, and you've grasped an important key to change. Dr. Kolakowski clearly shares that point of view. She and I both write columns for the Huffington Post, which is where we met. And as we read and shared each other's work, it soon became obvious that we agreed upon many great things, including the fact that as a culture, our entire approach to depression needs a serious overhaul, namely, by taking people's relationships into account. Needless to say, we became quick friends. Up until recently, the field of mental health left relationships out of the discussion, as if problems like depression or anxiety or addiction existed in a realm all their own, mysteriously located outside the hum and buzz of human interaction. In fact, many clinicians thought of depression as a kind of emotional pathogen contracted in early childhood. The cure, from this point of view, was simple. Slog through the hard work of therapy. Take your medications as prescribed. In privacy, of course. No need to involve one's partner. Heal the pains of the past or break out of archaic, misguided beliefs, and with enough time and patience, the depression would slowly resolve itself. Except, of course, it didn't. Something far too big was missing. Most self-help books on depression give at most a simple nod to the fact that people with depression might be in relationships. They might even teach assertiveness tools or help you identify problematic thoughts about the people around you. But they certainly don't examine how depression and relationships shape one another. In that way, they adopt the old view. Just get better, they say. Your relationships will follow. And that's why we need a book like this. We need it because we can't afford to continue viewing depression as if the cause or cure resides solely in the mind of the person who's depressed. We need it because it matters, deeply, how we behave with others when we're depressed, and it matters just as profoundly how they respond to us. Depression affects relationships. Relationships affect depression. It's a vicious circle, but when its truth is honored, as it is in the chapters of this book, the circle becomes a virtuous loop through which we can improve our relationships, and in turn, our relationships can improve us. Our very sense of who we are can be opened up and revised with the right tools, and that revision can help us overcome depression. That's the inspiring and hopeful message of this book, beginning with the opening chapters in which listeners learn not just the nature of their depression, but how it influences their style of interaction, and vice versa. With each chapter, Dr. Kolakowski systematically builds on this theme, going far beyond symptom management, though she provides plenty of tools for that as well. She teaches you how to protect your relationship when fears, sadness, confusion, shattered self-esteem, and emotional pain threaten to distort and bury your own healthy need for closeness. Then she provides knowledge and skills you need to reconnect sexually and even deepen your intimacy. And she does all this with concrete, practical, research-backed advice and exercises, both of which draw on decades of relationship research. In short, When Depression Hurts Your Relationship is an important contribution, precisely because it arms you with the tools to take responsibility for your emotional health without ever losing sight of the fact that any work you do, any steps you take to change or grow or simply feel better, can happen only in the context of healthy relationships. As much as depression can be a burden on your relationship, Dr. Kolakowski writes in her first chapter, a good relationship can also be a source of strength and resiliency for you both. I couldn't agree more. May you use this book not just to feel better, but also to love better. Dr. Craig Malkin, Instructor of Psychology, Harvard Medical School. Director, YM Psychotherapy and Consultation, Inc., Cambridge, Massachusetts. Introduction. It's a question I am frequently asked, and one that most of us probably have asked at some point. Is it normal to have this many problems in our relationship? Do other couples have these kinds of problems? Yes, and yes, emphatically. Every couple goes through hard times where they struggle to connect. The very nature of being so close to someone, of loving them and being loved by them, opens you up in a way that not many other situations do. So often, the people we love the most are the ones we have the most problems with. And even though everyone goes through relationship difficulties, when you're in the thick of it, it can feel like you're very much alone. When you're depressed as well, your relationship problems can seem insurmountable. Depression sneaks into your thoughts, your feelings, the way you interact with your loved ones. It colors your world with a negative hue. Everything seems darker and less hopeful. Depression saps your energy, drains your motivation, and makes it difficult to enjoy time with your partner. When you struggle with it, it becomes difficult to engage in the world around you. You start to have less and less confidence in your partner, in yourself, and in your relationship. You feel lost and overwhelmed, with a sense that things will never get better. When you're depressed, you tend to perceive your partner's interactions more negatively and feel higher levels of guilt and shame. And you are more likely to be overcome in the face of difficult emotions. In essence, you may feel poorly equipped to manage unexpected or emotional events in your relationship. The other side of the coin is that relationship problems can be a precursor for depression. Large amounts of relationship stress, arguing, anger, resentment, and withdrawal are difficult for anyone to deal with. But if you've struggled with depression, relationship problems may send you into a downward spiral. Constant conflict that never gets resolved, explosive fights and angry words, makes you want to retreat from your partner. One or both of you may withdraw from the relationship altogether, trying to avoid conflict by keeping your thoughts to yourself. But that doesn't really solve the problem, and you end up feeling disconnected and lonely. You probably were drawn to this book because on some level, you know that the warning signs of depression have been there. Trouble engaging with your partner, being self-critical, feeling irritated and let down by your partner, feeling like he doesn't understand you or wondering what you ever saw in her. As you listen to this book, you may start to recognize these warning signs even more strongly, and some of them may not fit with what you typically think of as depression. This book will tell you how the pieces fit together and what you can do to help. For too long, the treatment of depression has been confined to looking at the individual. Yet the research is irrefutable. Depression hurts your relationship satisfaction, and being unhappy in your relationship contributes to depression. Depression doesn't stay in a little bubble that encircles only the depressed person. It affects both of you and how you feel about your relationship. My goal is to help you have a healthy relationship with your partner and with yourself. This book will teach you new ways of thinking about yourself and your relationship. The practical skills offered here are based on years of research. Some of these skills will seem intuitive and some may take you by surprise. Again, the goal here is to encourage you to approach your circumstances in a whole new way. You and your partner have a bond that no other two people share. This special bond defines your intimacy. If your bond has been damaged by depression, this book will help you rebuild it. The meaning of intimacy. Sometimes the word intimacy conjures up images of two people embracing and holding one another with unadulterated adoration. But that's not always how it goes in the real world, is it? Other times, intimacy seems like a polite way of saying sex. While sex and intimacy are closely linked, the concept of intimacy goes beyond sex. Intimacy is the ability to show your partner what's in your heart, even when you feel vulnerable and uncertain. It's about letting your partner in, even when it's easier to withdraw or keep fighting. Intimacy is about going through the unpredictable ups and downs of life together, while also maintaining your own sense of self. It's the ability to share and soothe and connect. It's the crux of all relationships. A relationship lives or dies by its intimacy. So how do you gain intimacy? Where does it come from? The bond of intimacy starts developing right when you first meet someone, whether or not you realize it at the time. Think back to when you first met your partner. How did you meet? What were you doing at the time? What did you like about him? How did you know how she felt about you? There was probably a moment, early on, when you recognized that you could be close to your partner. Perhaps it was a flicker of recognition when you told her of an experience and she said, "Me too." It might have been seeing something of yourself in this other person, or having a sense of being familiar and at ease with him. Beyond chemistry or physical attraction, you felt that this other person could really know you. A good friend of mine came back from her second date with her now husband. She told me that she had mentioned to him that she'd had a rough day at work. She was ready to brush past it and talk about something else, but then he asked her to tell him about what had happened. In that moment, in his wanting to know more about how she truly felt and in her response, they began to establish a sense of intimacy and closeness. Attachment researchers have studied love and attachment for decades. The findings overwhelmingly show that partners who consistently seek one another out for comfort and a sense of security report the highest levels of happiness together. Think about the times you felt the most connected to your partner. Try to recall what you were doing together that made you feel so close to her. When you felt that you were giving your heart and your love freely, when you received her love. What did it feel like? Those moments of connection are what drew you together, and it's moments like these that you can work to create again. Even when your relationship is in trouble, the bond that you two have formed remains strong. Time may have changed some things. Your circumstances or experiences may have shifted, and there might be times when you haven't felt so close. But your bond is always there, in the background, waiting to be revived and celebrated. There are moments every day in your relationship where you can recapture the intimacy that you share. What helps your bond to thrive is nurturing your own sense of self-worth, being a supportive partner, and learning how to break the more destructive patterns of conflict when they arise. I have worked with many individuals and couples who've come through the lows of depression and are back to feeling fulfilled in their relationships. They were able to recognize that the problem was not their relationships. The problem was how they were in their relationships when depression was present and holding them back. I will share some of their stories with you in this book. You will hear how they were able to improve their relationships and their lives as they gained new insight, learned useful skills, and made some practical changes in their interactions with their partners. I wrote this book for men and women of any age who have experienced depression and have struggled with their romantic relationships. The concepts and exercises are effective for people in all kinds of relationships. Whether you're married or living together, have been together 8 months or 28 years, this book will help you. And if you're single, you can use this book to improve your understanding of how depression may have damaged past relationships and to learn what you can do differently in the future. If you have a depressive disorder, this book isn't meant to take the place of professional treatment. Instead, the exercises and information presented here will serve as a useful addition to your therapy or couples counseling. The goal of this book is to help you approach your partnership with a healthy attitude and self-awareness that will make your relationship thrive. How to use this book. This book is for the person who is depressed or is having some symptoms of depression. Almost all of the exercises are intended for you to do individually. A few of the exercises may be done with your partner, especially those targeting communication skills. If your partner is unable or unwilling to participate in the exercises, that's okay. Positive transformation in relationships often comes from one partner making changes first. As you begin to treat your relationship the way you'd like it to be, you will set the stage for your relationship to become healthy and more fulfilling. The key is to be patient with yourself and your partner as you begin to make changes. How you're currently approaching your relationship is probably very different from what you'll learn how to do. The good news is that this book contains many helpful guidelines. With some patience, practice, and willingness, you'll be equipped to connect to your partner in a much deeper, more meaningful way. Within these chapters, you'll find answers to the most common problems that people with depression have in relationships. Chapter 1 will help you understand how depression affects your relationship with your loved one. Chapter 2 explains what to do when you're faced with the most common ways depression can hurt your relationship. Chapter 3 will help you identify and cope with upsetting emotions associated with depression and will teach you how to establish a different, more effective style of relating to your partner. Chapter 4 explores the role of worry, rumination, and fear in your relationship and gives you some tools for coping with relationship anxiety. It will help you identify new ways of interacting with your partner to reduce your worry and strengthen your connection. Chapter 5 will help you explore how self-esteem, identity, and self-acceptance relate to your well-being in your relationship. Chapter 6 will cover how depression can lower your desire for sex, and it will offer some life-changing tools to help you reinvest in and improve your sexual relationship. Chapter 7 will give you some tools for clearing up misunderstandings, dealing with conflict, and strengthening your bond with your partner. You'll learn several new communication tools, such as how to validate your partner's experience and how to accept differing points of view. This book is designed to help you move from feeling isolated to feeling like you're on the same team with your partner. The chapters build on each other, so you'll get the most out of listening to them sequentially. You may complete some exercises several times or use them on an ongoing basis, while you may choose to skip others. Your partner may want to listen to this book as well, to better understand what you're going through and how to help. Whatever approach you take, this book is designed to help you do what you can to give your relationship the best chance of success. Tools and strategies. The central premise of this book stems from interpersonal therapy, IPT. IPT is based on the notion that depression is often closely tied to social and interpersonal events. We know that genetics and personality, combined with disruptive social events, such as the death of a loved one or the loss of a relationship, often contribute to mood disorders. IPT is an evidence-based treatment for depression that helps you better cope with life situations that are linked to your current suffering. The main idea behind IPT is that depression is entwined with your relationships. IPT helps you look at what life circumstances may have caused you to become depressed, while also looking at what life circumstances are maintaining your depression currently. It takes into account your personality and ways you relate to your partner that may be continuing or worsening the cycle of depression. IPT considers your personal history and past experiences, but it is really focused on the here and now of your life. The tools in this book cover the following areas: your personality and style of relating to others, your symptoms that stem from depression, your conflict patterns with your partner, how painful emotions affect your relationships, major changes, loss, transitions, and stressors in your life, clarifying your wishes and goals for a satisfying relationship, identifying and reinforcing your strengths and assets. This book will help you explore each of these areas. The reason IPT is so effective for depression is that it allows you to alter your perception of your own ability to cope and change. Once you understand the mechanisms that underlie your depression, new choices will become available to you. Rather than being withdrawn and disconnected from your partner, you will learn how to use tools to bring you closer and more in sync with your loved one. This book also focuses on teaching mindfulness and acceptance. Mindfulness is an awareness of your present experience. It's a way of approaching your present moment with an open, non-judgmental attitude. Acceptance means approaching your range of emotions and experiences with curiosity. For couples, this means acknowledging that a range of thoughts and emotions will naturally ebb and flow within any relationship. Acceptance does not mean embracing pain or resigning yourself to being forever unhappy. Quite the opposite. When you're able to acknowledge the reality of any given situation, there are more opportunities for change. Acceptance allows you to let go of the unrealistic goal of trying to make your relationship free of conflict or in a perpetual state of harmony. The aim is instead to notice the dynamics of your relationship as they happen. You begin to make space for your own range of reactions, thoughts, desires, and wishes, and also to make room for your partner's range of experiences. Mindfulness and acceptance skills are extremely helpful in managing the distress that comes from depression and difficulties in your relationship. Rather than resist the fear or uncertainty you may experience when your partnership feels unstable, you can learn to explore it, look into it, learn from it, and move past it. Depression can be painful and lonely to go through, but there is hope. Because depression is such a widespread problem, researchers and clinicians have studied depression in relationships extensively. The tools in this book draw on decades of research and proven interventions that you can learn to implement in your own life. I wrote this book because I want you to know that there is a way for things to get better for you. You don't have to feel you're doomed to always have trouble with relationships or to always be depressed. What if instead you could say, even though I sometimes struggle with depression, I have a really strong relationship? When you're willing to take the time to look inside and examine your relationship, so much can be accomplished. A healthy, loving relationship is possible, despite problems with depression. Chapter 1. The Uninvited Guest. Depression. Claire and Michael were seated in my office on opposite sides of the couch. Michael was well-dressed, articulate, and polite. He began by saying that he was worried about Claire, his wife of 4 years, because of the changes he'd been noticing. She was no longer affectionate. She didn't entertain or invite over friends and family, which he noted that she used to love doing, and she was confiding in him less and less. When they did speak, she was short with him and highly critical. He felt she was a stranger, and he wanted the old Claire back. Claire's eyes had been downcast the whole time he spoke. She looked up with anguish in her eyes and said, "I don't know why, but I just can't feel close to him. The more he tries to get close to me, the more I push him away. I can't stand feeling like this, but I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do?" Thus began our work together. As the sessions went on, Claire became more tearful as she discussed how her depression affected her love for Michael. "I hate that I take it out on him. He doesn't deserve this. But I feel so lost and so upset. And even when he's being nice, it feels like nothing he does is right. And then I start feeling guilty for treating him so badly. It makes it worse, and I realize I'm not good enough for him. I don't know why he stays with me." Michael and Claire are a couple whose relationship has been hurt by an uninvited guest named depression. Neither of them knew that Claire was struggling with depression, but through our work in therapy, we identified certain moments in their relationship that marked her descent into a depressive episode. We also found that Claire had struggled with some depression symptoms as a teenager and had a family history of relationship problems. Over time, Claire began to connect more to her emotions and to Michael. She was able to work through some of the sadness that had been present for quite some time. Once we identified the problem of depression and how the relationship was being hurt, Claire and Michael were able to begin making some changes to help the relationship handle the uninvited guest. If you are like Claire, depression diminishes your ability to connect with and enjoy the person you love. You begin to criticize yourself and your partner, and to doubt your relationship altogether. It's so discouraging when nothing feels right. You may lose interest in sex, feel disconnected, and feel exhausted. Painful feelings of isolation, worthlessness, and hopelessness can make it hard to trust your own instincts. Irritability and anger drive a wedge between you and your partner. Your past haunts you, and you worry about the future. As you deal with your own sadness, your connection with your partner seems to be slipping away. It's sometimes hard to fully recognize depression. This uninvited guest doesn't come with a name tag. This chapter will help you understand the problems you're having that are related to depression and show you how to transform the uninvited guest into something less intimidating. Identifying the symptoms of depression. Depression is a complex disorder, but there are 3 general areas to look at when evaluating if you may be depressed. The main focus should be on changes in how you are feeling, thinking, and behaving. Changes in mood. First, you may notice changes in your mood. Perhaps you felt and still feel deeply sad, as if the sadness overwhelms any possibility of feeling happy or hopeful. With this sadness, you may experience tears and crying on a daily basis. You may notice that it doesn't take much to irritate or annoy you. Your emotional threshold feels low, even when you're really making an effort. You may have angry outbursts, lack patience, and feel on edge. Another way that your emotions may be affected by depression is in the form of feeling numb or devoid of emotions. You may notice that you don't feel anything at all. You don't feel sad. You don't feel happy. You just feel hollow. Emotions have been replaced by a sense of emptiness. You are unable to feel emotions even when you try to feel something. Any of these changes in mood, a deep sense of sadness, agitation, or moodiness, or a sense of numbness or emptiness, can be symptoms of depression and may signal that depression is present. Changes in thinking. Next, you may notice changes in your thinking. Depression is characterized by overly negative, critical, or hopeless thoughts. This means that it's hard to see the glass half full. One of the best descriptions of how depression affects your thoughts comes from cognitive therapist Aaron Beck. Depression is characterized by what Beck calls a cognitive triad: negative thoughts about yourself, a negative outlook on the world, and a pessimistic view of the future. Indeed, when my clients describe feeling discouraged and hopeless, It is often the idea that things will never get better that is most upsetting. It's the sense of dread about the future that really feels so.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?